What's up, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, and today we're going to talk about the 2017 Ford GT and why, to me, it's a pretty big letdown. Now, you've seen a bunch of reviews recently, and they're all about, great car, but, you know, the exhaust note's not quite there, something's missing, but it's a great car, it's really cool. The people that you saw review those cars were all invited out to, I think it was Tooele, Utah, which is Miller Motorsports Park, and they were allowed to drive the cars. So when you're an invited guest, I understand the pressure to be like, greatest car ever. I think that car missed the mark. And before you say, Rob, you're just bitter you didn't get one, blah, 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 blah. I even said in the videos that if I was offered one, I don't know if I would buy it. And they did their vetting process to get them in the hands of just the pure enthusiasts that really deserve the car. We'll get to that later. But just so you know, I bought this one instead. This is a 2017 488 Spider. I ain't even mad. I am perfectly okay not having the Ford GT. If the market levels out and I see one in the right price and it sort of sparks my fancy, I can't say I'm never going to own one, but I'm not upset that I didn't get one. That car, to me, I'll tell you the reasons why it missed the mark. And it sort of missed the mark the same way the NSX missed the mark, and I've made videos on the NSX. The previous generation Ford GT, the 2005 and 2006, was immensely successful. Not initially with dealership sales, but successful in the secondary market for a couple of reasons. One, because it looked cool. Two, because it was a great value. Three, because it was moddable. It had the same engine layout, so to speak. It was the aluminum version of the Ford Lightning motor, boosted motor. You can make good horsepower. Sounded awesome, looked cool, and the fit and finish wasn't perfect, but for the price, nobody was going to complain. I mean, we had, like, the door panels fell off and little stuff like that, but ultimately, it's great. It's a great bargain, a great value, a great driving car, probably one of the best driving cars to date that I've ever driven. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my time, and I will be getting another 05 or 06. The problem is they sort of crept up in value when they stopped production. Then it became more of a forbidden fruit, and everyone's like, well, it's a great car. Like, I'm going to scoop one up for 160 grand. That's great. And the market started creeping up. Now, the specialty cars, the Gulf editions, they walked all the way up to about $450,000. That was sort of the top selling price of any of them. I think that may have influenced Ford's decision to be like, look, we'll just make a better car. And clearly, people are willing to buy a Ford for $450,000. We can use that price point. Why are we letting these people make the money on our hard work? Let's just sell it for a higher price out the gate. And I think they removed any of the secondary market or that bump out of that car. Now, here's the problem you're running into with the car, is that it's based off of a V6 platform, which is great for racing. It's fuel efficient. It's whatever it is, the EcoBoost motor, but it doesn't have that same appeal or sound or modability. And to be fair, the videos I saw, it sounded pretty good inside. It's not like it sounds bad, but it doesn't have that modability that the previous one has. It doesn't have the affordability that the previous one has. They made it exclusive, so now you can't just have money to get one. You have to have money and pass a screening test and tell Ford how much you deserve the car because you're going to love it and enjoy it and show it off, and you're never going to sell it. And that's where it sort of lost its way. Now, it looks cool. And for all intents and purposes, it puts down a great lap time. I'm sure it's a great performance car. It just misses that fun mark. It doesn't have that 6-speed manual that people were probably hoping for. That's what made the previous one great. It's above and beyond a better finished car from the factory than the previous generation. But the previous generation is just much more fun, it seems. And I didn't watch Doug's video. I know Doug did a comparison video. So check that out if you haven't seen it, but odds are you probably saw it. I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. But my thoughts are pretty firm here. Like, I'm pretty confident in my decision. I've never driven it. I'll drive one. I was talking to Brooks over at Drag Times. We were going to swap cars for a day and go out for a drive. So I'm going to get some seat time in it, but without that ability to crank it up to that 850 horsepower if you want to, or without that affordability to really be that bargain, like all the other cars are $100,000 more. Why? It didn't really sell because people didn't know what the value was, but once people started seeing the sure footing of the value on that car, it went up. I said it when I drove it. When we first bought it, when I drove it, I said, this car is worth all of $200,000 at the time. This is 10 years ago. So I said it was worth more. It provided more value than it actually cost, which a lot of people saw. The new one doesn't do that. It's max value. People are still sort of uncertain. I didn't get approved for one. I don't know who did. There's a handful of 15 or 16 people that were made public as to who got it. But randomly enough, the Ford selection process didn't even work well.
Hi, can you leave a message for Rob Ferretti for me, please? I have a 2017 Ford GT that I just got actually 2 months ago that he possibly may have wanted interested looking into purchasing a Ford GT, and I have one. I'm looking to sell it.
I didn't put any feelers out there. I've not made a video saying if you got one, sell me one. But I got a phone call and somebody offered to sell me theirs with 16 miles on it. 16, not 1,600, not 16,000, 1.6. That means they spec the car, they receive the car, and then all of a sudden, they mysteriously don't want it. So whatever selection process they did didn't really work. Now you got guys just qualified for the car. First, I called him up, and the first thing he wanted to do was sell it for 700 grand. I'm like, I'm not interested. And he claimed financial hardship. Now, I know there may be a document, and it's very, very hard to enforce a holding period on a car if you buy it. But there may be a clause in there that says like financial hardship, because honestly, nobody, if you're going through a financial hardship, nobody goes out and spends $500,000 on a car. So I think that was just his like, and that's tough for a rich guy to admit there's like a financial hardship or even use that excuse. He probably used it because that's his out, like, yep, sorry, like I had a bad month, I had to get rid of some of my cars, and that was one of them. And he thought he was gonna make a quick buck. But even when I said, like, look, I'm not confident it's worth that, by the time that car is even getting to the cold call to me, he's exhausted his options. I mean, I'm not looking, he's shopped it around, I'm sure. And if you're looking for a car, shoot me an email. I'll maybe connect you with the guy if you're really interested and you want to spend the money. But I don't think that car's got room over sticker. And the fact that it's being sold to somebody who is selling it with 16 miles means that guy didn't buy it to drive it. That guy bought it to flip it. And that's a failure on Ford's part. So all across the board, there's so many marks and check boxes that the old one had that made it special that Ford tried to capitalize on. And don't get me wrong, this new one is gorgeous. It'll set a great lap time. I'm sure it's fun to drive, but it doesn't have, again, the googliness that the last one did, and it doesn't have that value that the previous one did. It doesn't have the modability, doesn't have the value. It became too exclusive that you couldn't just walk in and buy one, even if you had the money, and that's sort of something that hurt it. Again, this is not a Rob crying because he didn't get one, because I am perfectly happy. I've driven this thing, and it's flipping amazing. Great vehicle right here. But ultimately, I think a little bit of a swing and a miss on the Ford GT right now. As more people give it 6 or 12 months to see how the market settles out, how many start becoming available for sale with what mileage on it. And you may see the way of the GT3 RSs where 100 were produced and 50 were listed with delivery miles at the dealer instantly, which means people weren't buying them because they wanted them. People were buying them because they thought they could make a quick buck, and that sort of implodes the market and lowers the overall market because now there's more supply than demand. When people see a lot of things available for sale, the values go down because they're like, whoa, why is everybody getting rid of them? Thank you for watching. Leave your thoughts below. Let me know if you love it or hate it. I haven't watched all the Ford GT reviews. I've seen snippets of one or two. I sort of skipped through them, but it did sound pretty cool in the in-car. I'm not entirely sold on the long-term marketability at the price point it's at. Subscribe below if you haven't. I'll catch you next time.